Hello everyone, this is Boricua Binks and welcome back to Let's Play Seduce Me 2 The Demon War. In the last episode, after we had a creepy nightmare about Settle, and he's very clearly obsessed with Diana, we started a battle against the Demon Lord. And Diana's doing pretty well, so hopefully that will continue. Finally, the two slid away from each other. Diana was intact, breathing heavily from exerting so much energy, and the Demon Lord was weaponless. Adjusting my eyes, I could see that he was no longer carrying a weapon, and was gripping his arm tightly to stop some wound from bleeding out.
How could this happen? How?
Diana didn't respond. She flew forward to engage him again, but stopped as the Demon Lord's body became overcome by red lightning. As if the lightning had ended him, the Demon Lord's body vanished.
I will return, and your kingdom will fall.
Okay, so this is not the final battle with him. I was like, that's a little too soon. His voice echoed through the air, haunting everyone and making the trees around us bend and sway at its might. However, as the voice died out, the army that Demon Lord left behind vanished as well. I took a moment to take in. We had won the battle. We fought and drove the Demon Lord and his army out of the kingdom. We did it! Quickly, the soldiers of Diana's army cheered huzzas for their victory. Diana's snake vanished at last, and Diana herself slowly began to fly back towards me. I was grinning ear to ear as she slid between the embrasures to me. Uh-oh. However, I did not expect Diana's eyes to roll into the back of her head, and for her to collapse against me. I wrapped my arms around Diana as she indeed fainted in my arms. Diana!
Isaiah!
As I collapsed on my knees with Diana in my arms, Zero rushed over and dropped to his knees beside us, taking one of Diana's hands. Diana, however, didn't react even as energy began to flow from Zero to Diana's hand. Uh-oh. Should I kiss her in front of him? I'm kind of worried that might piss him off. But maybe that would give her more energy? I think she needs more energy, so I don't care what he says. So forget it. Just kiss the girl. She needed energy to recover, and I had to help. I gently took her head in my hands and kissed her, letting her unconsciously take my energy. I could feel warmth slowly coming back to Diana's skin as we kissed, making me slightly smile. Right in front of him. He's probably salty as hell. Diana's free hand gently slid up between our bodies and cupped itself over the side of my neck. If Diana was awake now, she was enjoying the kiss we were sharing and wasn't going to let go just yet. I could feel my nerves dance as energy slipped from me into Diana's lips. Before long, Diana disconnected that flow, pulling away slightly to look up at me. Diana slowly lifted herself up onto her feet. Instinctively, Zero and I both grabbed onto Diana's arms, helping her up. Oh, T3! Sorry. She looked to both of us with a kind smile.
Thank you.
I couldn't tell which of us she was thanking, but I accepted it with a smile of my own. You did it, Diana. You drove him back. Diana chuckled a bit before standing up straight. Her wings that had been folded against her back splayed out behind her near us, causing Zero and I to step back. As Diana began to speak, her voice booming through the air, the cheers around us became silent.
Friends, we have won this battle, but they will not be gone for long. This is the beginning of a war to end tyranny, to end chaos.
I could tell that every demon in the area had their ears and hearts open to Diana. I felt myself becoming full of courage just from listening to her speak.
You have shown great courage today, but you must build even more for the war ahead. The Demon Lord will try to cut you down, but we will prevail. As I am the last living heir to this grand kingdom, I swear unto you all that I will fight until the very end, and free this world of the evil that is the Demon Lord. With this, I urge you to stand with me and fight by my side, not as my subjects, but as my brothers and sisters. I ask now, who will stand with me?
Nice. The sound that came after was loud and eardrum piercing. The sound of 1,000 cheers beat through the air and showed the allegiance of every demon in the area and then some. I could only stare in awe as Diana took in everyone's cheers and took in a heavy breath. It was then that I knew that I had become part of something grand at the side of a woman who would change history. The following days were full of chaos. The Demon Lord tried to come back and reclaim his pride, but Diana somehow managed to press back with ease, giving him more wounds than inflicted before. It was like the castle became an impregnable fortress. Soon, word spread around to the neighboring kingdoms of the Demon Lord's defeat, and continued failed attempts to attack. Many leaders sent messages of allegiance, which Diana humbly accepted, and soon enough we drove the Demon Lord's army far back away from us. After every battle, she would wind up in my arms, much to the slightly obvious disapproval of Seto. Whenever a demon questioned my presence, Diana would simply wave them off with a small token of praise towards me.
She is my most honored guest, and she is here to help us win this war.
Still, the thought of what we officially were began to make me concerned. Did Diana see me more than an energy source and ally? We had kissed before we returned, but since then, I couldn't have been more unsure. I began to question myself. Why was I here? I could only shake my head in response. I shouldn't doubt anything. We were in the midst of war, and with Diana at the front, she had many responsibilities, many that I could never even hope to think on. The pinnacle moment of our relationship, however, came when a brute demon stormed into the castle all on his own. He was unarmed and carrying a single item which made many demons step away from him in fright. Oh, here we go. We're gonna see the other people now. Okay. Diana, Seto, and I were in the war room with 3 other beings whom I had named Faye, Rabbit, and Shadow for simplicity. When the doors to the room swung open, everyone was forced to turn their heads from the map we were previously poring over.
Whoa! What is...
Okay, I thought it would be him. All protests became silent as the being who entered chucked the object in his hand onto the table. As it settled to a stop in the middle of the map, all of the demons in the room stared in absolute shock. What is that? Lying on the table was a red, broken horn. There was no blood or bone in it, but it was indeed the horn of the being who had stormed in. I became confused, wondering why this being decided to throw his horn at us. As I looked to Diana, however, I could see the shock in her eyes. The expression on her face was a mixture of fear, surprise, and a little flattery, like someone had given her an exotic bouquet of bloody thorn-filled roses. He broke off his own horn to propose to her? What? Sergeant, what? This is weird. Diana finally looked up at the demon who had entered the room and examined him. Wow, okay. I don't remember, did he always have a horn like that?
Brute demon. What is the meaning of this?
What does it look like?
Hey, Sergeant.
It looks like you're swearing your allegiance to the rebellion. The question is why?
He swore allegiance with his horn?
It's a brute demon tradition. If they leave their tribe to serve a non-nomadic kingdom without marrying into it, then they must break a horn in allegiance.
However, from what I recall, there are no more tribes left in the demon world after the Demon Lord's mass genocide of the brute demons.
I stared wide-eyed at Shadow. Mass genocide? The Demon Lord had that much power to eliminate an entire demon race? I still want a spin-off game of these other characters. of Shadow and Faye and Rabbit and Sergeant, because they're interesting. I looked to the brute demon, seeing him glare hard at Shadow at his remark.
Well, he didn't kill everyone.
So there are more of you?
A flash of grief flashed in... Okay, whatever. Flashed in the brute's eyes when before he looked down at the table.
No, I'm the only one left, and I refuse to let that bastard get away with this.
Oh, that's sad. I felt incredibly terrible for the grief he had to bear. It must have been horrible to be the last of his kind. I looked to Diana, wondering what she would do with this information. The look on Diana's face was enigmatic. She was obviously in deep thought, but how was she going to handle the situation before her? Finally, she took in a breath and let out a sigh before speaking.
Sir Brute, you come swearing your allegiance to the rebellion. Is there anything you demand of us for your service?
It was the question she asked every Alliance leader. They often asked for the promise of freedom or an oath of protection from harm. The demons who were with us in the room simply joined out of their own interests. What about this demon? The brute demon rolled his shoulders back and stared hard at Diana, making her straighten up a bit.
I ask for you to perform ascending.
Ascending?
For the souls of your people?
The brute nodded, before stepping up and placing his large hand on the table, staring at the back of it, torn shame.
My people did not deserve death, but their ashes now lie in the earth. There is no one who can give them a proper sending, so I ask that you, Succubus, do this for me in return for my service.
Here, all y'all asking her these nice things, right? And yet you were planning to murder her in James's route? What the frick? I looked to Faye, hoping they would explain, but Diana turned to me and spoke instead.
Dear, ascending is a ritual brute demons perform to honor their deceased. It is a ritual of both celebration and grief, so it must be done with a full heart.
Huh? Oh, thanks. Diana smiled at me and nodded before turning back to the brute. I was happy that she was still willing to teach me despite her position. The brute, however, finally took notice of me and glared.
A human? What is it doing here?
Excuse me? It? I am not Pennywise, okay? Became suddenly irritated and stepped forward to confront the demon, but Diana placed a hand on my shoulder and cleared her throat.
She is a vital part of this war, Sir Brute. Please do not disrespect her.
I looked to Diana, seeing her press her lips together in a fine line and stare into the brute's soul. A part of me felt extremely flattered at her protection. However, I could practically feel Seto's jealous aura from the other side of Diana. Oh jeez, Seto, man, calm down. Jealousy is not becoming, man. The brute took a hard stare at me before eventually nodding and crossing his arms.
So, will you do it?
Diana took a moment to herself, staring at the wooden table in thought. I began to ponder as well about it. He seemed to be a worthy ally, but Diana seemed torn. Was it appropriate for a demon who wasn't a brute to do it? I think she should do it since he's asking, right? And, in return, she gets his allegiance, so why not? I placed my hand on Diana's shoulder and nodded as she looked up at me in curiosity. If the brute wanted her to do it, then she should gain, then she stood to gain, I think is what they meant to say. She stood to gain a potentially powerful ally. I smiled and nodded to her. Ooh, excuse me. She slowly relaxed under my gaze. After a moment, Diana turned to the brute demon and nodded.
Very well. I will perform the sending of your fallen kin.
When?
This afternoon.
Everyone hitched their breath in surprise at Diana's words. She would perform the same day. Did she even know how to perform it properly? Diana? With a chuckle, Diana looked to me with a small smirk.
I'll be fine, dear. I know a fair amount of brute demon rituals.
Okay. That afternoon became full of hustle. Servants were rushing back and forth, trying to prepare for a ritual they knew little to nothing about. Luckily, Shadow and Rabbit helped instruct everyone properly. I was taken to my room, given an opportunity to rest, but as I sat on the bed, I felt restless. I didn't want to sit around and do nothing for the day. There was much I could do. Despite being a human, I wasn't some decoration. I defied my instructions and wandered. Excuse me. Darn it. Hoping to find Diana. I wanted to help her if possible, but as I approached the room she was practicing in, I managed to catch a pair of voices.
My lady, I must insist.
Uh-oh.
Insist that I lock her in her room like a prisoner? Out of the question.
I quietly pressed myself against the wall near the doorway and continued to listen in, now wondering what was going on. Dude.
She is not a pet or a slave, Sero. She is my guest and greatest ally.
I understand this, but she's also a human. Every time someone new comes to forge an alliance with the rebellion, the human's presence is questioned.
If they are turned away by a mere human, then they are worthless allies.
Agreed.
My lady, you are not understanding my point.
Then what is the point, Sero?
He's freaking jealous, that's all. A small silence followed. I was in awe that Diana was defending me so hard. As for Seto, I began to hear the jealous beast he was hiding. What was he going to do?
My point is that people are questioning what she is to you.
The question pained me to realize, but I was curious as well. What was I to her? She vouched for me as an ally, but did she like me as I liked her? I came with her to fix this world, but I truly came for her. After a painfully long silence, Diana spoke again.
I care for her. Very much so. Like I care for you, Sero. She is very important to me, for many reasons. She has become part of my life, and anyone who questions why will be silenced.
Yeah. That's cute. I still say OT3 should happen, but I mean, she's pretty much telling him that she has feelings for him too. Why is that not enough for you, sir? Why?
Is that enough to appease you?
It is not my place to be appeased.
I took a breath, taking in what Diana has said. She cared for me. I wasn't sure whether to feel happy or sad at that, but I had to take it in that she cared enough to protect and defend me. I didn't get to feel that emotion for long. However, as Faye flew up beside me and grinned, I panicked for a moment, hoping that they wouldn't give away my position, but they whispered to me, understanding.
Psst. We're about to go prepare the ritual dance area thing. Whatever. Want to come watch?
Faye's cool. I like Faye. When I play the other routes, Faye is probably the next tutor I'll pick. Because Shadow was cool and all, but Faye looks like cool to be like a friend, you know? I opened my mouth to object, but was stopped by Diana's voice.
Now, please, leave me be. I have to prepare and cannot afford any more distractions.
I grimaced. I came to help, but I guess she had to work alone. I left with Faye, not wanting to be caught by Sero and understanding that she needed to be alone to work. This ritual seemed very important to her, and the brute demon that demanded it of her. In truth, I was excited to see Diana to go through with it. The fact that she was willing to dance for the brute demon was surprising. Ooh, I want to see her dance. When Faye and the handful of demons that helped them finished their work, I stood in the front line of a crowd surrounding the ritual area. To say that I was mildly nervous for her was an understatement. Did Diana even know how to do this sending? From what she insinuated to me as she brought me to my room, she would be given instructions and follow them to a T. Would she be able to do it? A small, quiet wave of gasps came towards my direction, causing me to look over at where they originated from. I stared wide-eyed at what I saw. Diana? Oh, look at her wearing clothes. You should always wear clothing, but whatever. Diana was dressed in some sort of dancer garb, with purple paint over her already tainted skin, shaping symbols around her body. In her hands were two large... I don't know why that looks strange. Were two large sabers glowing in the sunlight. She was absolutely stunning. Diana stepped between the crowd as they parted ways for her and into a chalk-drawn circle which separated the ritual area and the ones watching it. Her bare feet guided her to the center as a couple of other demons, each holding an instrument, set up near the edge away from where I was. At last, the air was filled with complete silence. The look on Diana's face showed pure concentration and focus as she closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Ooh, like that. Ooh. Nice. The drums echoed through the air as the dance finally began. I stared, mesmerized by what I was watching. Diana's entire body moved in time with the beat, and instruments floating through the air. The sabers she was holding glided through the air as if they were slicing through it with perfect ease. As the beat moved, her hips and shoulders rolled fiercely, like a hypnotic and passionate belly dance routine mixed with an African tribal step. However, her focus remained on the sabers in her hand and the circle she was instructed to dance within. Her bare feet hit the ground hard, with her heels jutting into the dirt, not hard enough to disturb the soil, but loud enough to echo alongside the drum beat. My breath was taken away by the sight. However, I wasn't the only one blown away by the dancing succubus.
She's beautiful, isn't she?
Oh boy. I didn't turn my head away, but I could tell that Seto had stepped up to stand beside me and watch Diana dance. The two of us stood side by side, watching the person we both cared about give homage to an extinct demon race. Seto's voice was barely audible over the sound of the drums and chants in the air.
To accept this role is a great honor for her.
Ignore him? No, let's talk. Really? Why? I felt my curiosity surface at his statement. Was this dance truly an honor? This was meant to honor the death of thousands of brute demons. How was this an honor?
Brute demons are extremely devoted to proper ceremony and homage. Because of this, the role of Rage Dancer is often given to the most powerful and the most honorable brute demon in the tribe where they perform the sending.
But Diana's not a brute demon. Why not have the brute demon himself perform it?
Because the brute demon recognizes her strength. He knows how powerful she is, so he asked her to perform it in his stead.
Okay. A small laugh escaped Seto's lips, causing me to glance over slightly before returning to watch the dance. What's so funny?
I apologize. Imagining that brute demon dance is rather humorous to think about.
Okay, he has a point there. Especially imagine him dressed in that same outfit. As the thought popped into my head, I couldn't help but giggle a bit as well. Seto and I shared a laugh. Oh, T3! Oh my god, that's so cute. Sorry. Before letting it die quietly so we could continue to watch Diana, the true dancer of the evening.
I love her.
Ah, he's being upfront now. That stopped my thoughts. I looked over to Seto, seeing his gaze still plastered towards Diana. His expression was cool and like stone, serious in what he had said and meant. He loved her.
I've loved her ever since we were children. I've been by her side through everything, and she's given meaning to my life. I would give my life for her if she demanded it.
Okay. Of course, how could you not ship it, you know? You could tell he's so devoted to her, it's adorable. But dude, please, if you love her, just be okay that she loves me, and and let us be happy. It's not that I want to steal her from you, I swear. At last, Seto looked to me, a small fire burning in his eyes through his gaze. I could see the devotion and truth in his soul, knowing how deeply he cared for Diana.
What say you to that?
Oh, is this gonna be a question? Hold on, hold on, hold on. Let me save. Oh no. What I say doesn't matter. She loves me. I love her too. I don't know. I mean, we can't speak for her. You can't say she loves me. Can we just... I mean, the only option that makes sense is I love her too. Seto was serious about his affections. So was I. Seto stared wide-eyed as I smiled and nodded to him, understanding his feelings. I feel happy when I'm with her. She's taught me so much during the time we spent together, about demons and the 5 worlds. I can still hardly believe it all exists at once. I looked back to Diana, seeing her continue her dance with a concentrated expression. The more I thought of her, the happier I felt myself becoming. I thought of all she had done. While what she did was a tragedy, it was in desperation. Oh yeah, she did kill her grandpa. She had no choice. I understood that, and knew eventually that, without that act, I never would have learned about this world or magic at all. Before I met her, my life was boring and bland. I went to school and was only allowed to think about my future. When Diana appeared, she changed my life. She showed me an entire new universe, and I will never be able to thank her enough for that. I know you've been with her for a very long time. Ooh, another choice. But I understand your feelings for her perfectly. But she is important to me, but she's mine. Ooh. I feel like saying she's mine would be so mean to say, you know? But she is important to me. But I understand your feelings for her perfectly. Maybe if I choose the top one, it will lighten the blow a little bit. We both loved and cared for her. I could tell that Seto deeply and truly loved Diana, but so did I. She had done so much for me already, and I found myself captured in her spell. Seto had to have been the same. I was given silence as Seto's reply. Let him think about it, you know? Diana's dance continued into the night, surprising me. She had this much stamina. Despite watching her, she didn't stop to break once, most likely expending energy to keep moving. How long did the dance have to go for? As the torchlights illuminated the space, and the moon was at the top of the sky, Diana finally stopped, panting hard and clashing the sabers together to cause a ring of steel to bounce through the air. The audience clapped wildly, many deeply captivated enough to stay the entire time, as some joined in during the later hours of the ritual. The brute, whom I decided to dub as Sergeant, stepped from the crowd into the ritual space and walked towards Diana. Letting the sabers vanish into the air, Diana looked to the one approaching her with a tired stare. Silence lingered between them as Sergeant held out his arm to Diana. With a smile, Diana reached out and clasped her hand onto his forearm.
Honorimus dirigendo pedes.
Victoria in consummatione.
Another round of cheers echoed through the air at the words exchanged between them. I smiled, knowing that Diana had appeased Sergeant and his people. Diana released her hold on his hand and nodded to him before looking towards me and ushering me to her. I quickly rushed her over as she lifted her arm and placed it along my shoulders tiredly. She called for me first. You see? You see? Sorry. Diana?
I need a little help.
I could feel Seto's gaze on my back. Would he step in and fight me, doing as she asked? I looked back to see him watching with a blank expression. What was going on in his mind? Well, I think we will find out what's going on in his mind in the next episode. This is very, very interesting. Alright, so I hope you guys are enjoying this. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, have a nice day. Bye!